Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele with my co-host Ernie DeCumos and our special guest today, Deb Krier. Wow, that was pretty amazing segment, Deb. We had a little bit of technical difficulty there with Ernie getting in and out, and that's the way we started our show. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take just a minute, and I want our guests to really get to know who you are a little bit better, and I want you to get some credit here because this is a pretty amazing bio. So Ernie, take it away.
Yes, I would love to. For real this time. Deb Krier is an entrepreneur, cancer advocate, and the visionary behind tryingnottodie.LIVE. With a background in communications, marketing, and public relations, she's navigated diverse roles from spearheading communication strategies for large corporations, small companies, and nonprofit organizations to founding her own marketing agency for over 20 years. Diagnosed with stage 4 triple positive breast cancer in 2015, basal cell carcinoma in 2021, and thyroid cancer in 2023. She founded tryingnottodie.LIVE in 2022. As a dynamic advocate and speaker that passionately champions resilience, empowerment, and community building amid adversity, inspiring others to navigate the complexities of cancer with courage and power. She is an entrepreneur and cancer advocate. She is
Thank you.
now also a certified happiness life coach.
There you go.
Yes. And so that is Ms. Deb Krier. We wanted to share her bio because she deserves the credit, especially the new certification, which is certified happiness life coach. So with that being said, Deb, we talk about you being diagnosed with cancer, right? 3 cancers to be exact. And this is very dear to my heart because I work very closely with cancer patients.
Yes.
And it's not easy. So I see one side of the picture, which is treating the cancer patients. How about on your end as a cancer patient? How challenging is it to work, right? We touched this earlier. How challenging is it to work while you have cancer and even leading your own company having the cancer itself?
You know, it's obviously individual for whoever has this journey that they are on. I wanted something to keep my mind focused on something besides being sick. And so that was why I kept working. I did have some people who were available to back me up because it's pretty much just me. But I had people who could back me up. And, you know, it really was just truly a way for me to keep my mind on something else. You know, and I'm very fortunate that I'm covered under my husband's insurance. But that is something that many people who are working worry about, right? They need that salary and they need that insurance. And so they're going to try to work for as long as they possibly can. And in many cases can work the entire time. But yeah, it's a challenge to do that, you know, and focus on your own healing too, right? Because you don't want to forget that you have these things. Which was where sometimes it would be frustrating because, you know, I couldn't do some of the things that I wanted to do because I was not feeling good.
My goodness. And was it not feeling good because of the side effects of the medications, or was it because of the symptoms that you're having with your
you know,
disease?
kind of all of the above. The treatment that I take causes extreme fatigue, insomnia. So that's always fun.
Wow.
Right? I know too. And part of having septic shock, I had some pretty severe damage to my digestive system. And so, you know, as we tell people now, I'm hollow, you know, and so, you know, my doctors are really funny, and I won't go into too much detail, but some things just don't work well when I eat them, and so then I can have issues for several days, you know, but yeah, it's mainly for me, it's the fatigue and pain. And you'll find that this is something that a lot of cancer drugs cause is bone pain. And when they say bone pain, they mean pain all the way down in your bones. And so you just kind of have to stop. But it's, as somebody told me, they said, give yourself the grace to go through what you're going through and honor it.
I love that. Deb, I guess one of the things that I'm interested in here, and we may touch on this a little bit later in the last segment, but you had to go through what you were going through and still work and still do all the things that you needed to do. You had to have some kind of a shift in mindset, or you had to develop some type of mindset. And there are people out there listening today that have had similar situations in their life, or maybe even worse situations in their life. How do you help a person? How do you help them know what the right mindset is, or how do you gain that type of mindset? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Part of it is you need to acknowledge that something's even going on. And more importantly, and now this was a challenge for me. You have to ask for help. And you have to be honest with everybody. First of all, be honest with yourself. Today is not a good day. Today's a really good day. Whatever it is, you have to be honest with your medical team. When they say, "Hey, Deb, how are you doing today?" I will never tell them I'm fine.
Right.
To me, that word is a 4-letter word. And so, in fact, I tell them I'm hunky-dory. Told them that today, and they all laugh, right? But you have to be honest with them. You have to be honest with the people around you. If somebody says, "Hey, Steve, how are you doing?" and you're not doing good, then you need to let me know. Now, obviously, it depends. If Starbucks person says, "How you doing?" I'm not going to, tell them great detail, right? But but like I said, be honest and ask for help. Maybe it's that you need help doing work. Maybe it's that you need help meeting deadlines. Maybe it's simple things. I mean, after I'd been in the hospital for so long, they said, you need to get out and you need to walk. You need fresh air and you need sunshine. Well, I was using a walker. Can you imagine me with a walker? But I also knew, and my husband had gone back to work. I knew that going out by myself and walking was not a wise move. I could go thud pretty easily, right? And so I posted on Facebook, because that's where I have a big Facebook following, that I needed people to come and walk me for 15, 20 minutes a day. And then, of course, because me being me, I said, leash provided. But people want to help, but they don't know how. And they also don't know how to even ask, because they don't want to make you feel worse. They don't want to, they don't want to pry, all these things. But they might say, "Hey, Ernie, just tell me if you need something." Well, your brain can't get around that. But if you said, "Hey, I need somebody to go for a walk with me. I need somebody to go to the grocery store for me," things like that, people can do, and they can get their head around it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm curious too, Deb, and you've said this earlier. It's not, you're going to have bad days, right? Is there any routine that you do in order to get over those bad days?
I just keep going, but, and obviously it depends on what's going on. I do take afternoon naps. I tell people I've become a kindergartner again. I nap, I get up and have milk and graham crackers. And it's funny, I had graham crackers at the doctor's office today.
I love it.
But, I know that I need a nap. And even if it's just laying down, convincing my body that my back is not going to spasm, things like that. But otherwise, you try and just live as normal of a life as you can.
This is a question I have. And I know you've worked with men and women in these capacities and different things. Do you find that women and men approach cancer situations differently?
I think so. But it's funny because neither sex wants to complain. So we don't tell people what's going on. I think we see, and way back in my background, I worked for an oncologist and I worked for the American Cancer Society. So see, I know just enough about all of this to be dangerous.
Wow.
I think what we find in many cases is, men don't like to admit there's something going on. And so they don't tell their doctors, they don't tell their spouses. Women, for the most part, are pretty good about going in for annual checkups, having their annual mammograms, all of those things. And so that kind of, helps along with that. We all hear that, men whine when they get sick and things like that. And I don't, I think men become even more stoic.
Yeah.
So in my infusion room where I have my treatments, they have 30 chairs. And so there's usually 12, 15 people in there. It is very different with the men. I mean, I can see that they are handling it differently. They want to be in charge the entire time. But I think we all have the issue of, not wanting to tell people when we need help and things like that.
I think men have a tendency to struggle with vulnerability,
right?
More than women do. I know for me as a person, I know when I'm not feeling well, I don't necessarily speak that I'm not feeling well to anybody,
right?
Because we're taught to, cowboy up. I mean,
right.
go on, be strong, and that's what we're taught, as men. And so I think the vulnerability part there for men may be a little more difficult for them to open up and tell them really, how do you feel? And I think it's something they have to learn to do to get the kind of, I guess, help they really need to help. And I guess you can learn that. Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of businessmen, as part of doing business, whether they're the owner, the boss, the employee, the whatever, I think that's why they don't share that information a lot, because they don't want anybody else thinking that they're weak.
Oh, I agree. I agree 100%. 100%.
I do have a question, Deb. So I've been told that when you're diagnosed with cancer, it's just a matter of perspective, right? So with you have been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I have seen people who has been diagnosed with stage 1 cancer, then all of a sudden they started deteriorating. And those people like you, diagnosed with stage 4, yet you're still here years later. What do you think is that difference between the two?
It really is a mental mindset. The oncologist that I worked for years ago, he would tell people 99% of this is in your head. If you think you're going to get better, you will get better. Now that might just be for 5 days, right? But he said, if you think you're going to die, you're going to die. So maybe it is only 5 days. How are you going to live during those 5 days? And he was real big on, whatever the patient wanted to do, that was how he treated. We had patients, and I worked for him as office staff, certainly not in any medical capacity, but we had patients who refused treatment. And he always felt that as long as they understood what those ramifications were, then he was fine with that. He wouldn't try and change their mind. We had one patient who had said she was going to take all that money, and instead of putting it towards cancer, she was going to go on an around the world cruise. And so we packaged up her records, because at that point, and it probably still is, if you pass away in a foreign country, it's a little difficult to get your body back. So we gave her records and sent her merrily along on her way. Then for a while, we got postcards from her, from whatever the port of call was, because this is postcard time, this is 30, 35 years ago. And then they stopped. And we chose to believe that she had found an island and was just staying at the island, and so, but yeah, it is. It's, if you think this is going to be horrible and awful, it will be horrible and awful. Now, it is going to be horrible and awful. There's going to be parts of it that are not fun, and you have to acknowledge that. But if you are looking for it to be as bad as it possibly can, then it's going to be as bad as it possibly can.
Yeah. It's the same process, partner. Do you think it's the same process as having the reticular activating system work?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I think so.
If you're focusing on yourself not getting better, then obviously your body will react that way.
Right.
Yep, I agree.
And laughter, happiness, that's part of why I became a happiness coach. It does help, and scientific studies have shown that, the endorphins, all of those various things that are increased when we laugh are good for us.
Yes.
And so I try and look for things in all of this where I can laugh about it. And whatever it takes for somebody to laugh, that's what they need to do. Sometimes it's inappropriate gallows humor, right? But other times, like today, one of my nurses, how are you doing today? And I said, well, I'm not looking up at 6 feet of dirt.
Yeah.
And which is true, right? And so and we also know that when we have a lot of stress, when we are consumed with bad thoughts, all of those things, it raises our blood pressure. It changes our digestive, certainly changes our sleep, and we need to eat well, sleep well, and get exercise no matter what. But and so if you're in a negative frame of mind, that interferes with all of that.
For sure. Any last questions, partner?
No, I'm good. I've got some. I think I got some for the next segment though, so it's going to be
Woo!
kind of fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
We're not done yet.
We will take a quick break. Deb just shared her journey of having cancer while working, and also shared some perspective and mindset that she had to have in order to deal with the diagnosis. When we return, she will be providing us tools in order to get through the process. We will be right back to the Leader's Edge.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Leader's Edge. I'm Steve Steele with my co-host Ernie DeCumos and our special guest Deb Krier. Wow, Deb, as I said in the break, you are such a delight.
I'm special.
You are so special.
Very special.
You are, and it's such a wonderful thing to have you here. I love what we talked about in that last segment on mindset, because Ernie and I are both real big on mindset, and and it makes a difference how you live your life. And it's like Dr. Maxwell says, most people live their lives, they don't lead their lives.
Right.
And I think that you're showing us how to lead our life through the mindset that and I love that. I absolutely love that. But we're going to get into some tools here. We're going to talk about some things. So Deb, take us there. Talk to us about tools that you've used
Cool,
to
cool.
help through.
Well, again, thank you so much. This is such a great conversation. And as you said, hopefully we are helping someone deal with whatever they're dealing with in their lives, right? Doesn't have to be cancer.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So my business coach several years ago told me, who knows my story, and she is the fabulous Kathleen Caldwell. She told me, she said, you didn't go through all of this to not use it to help others. And I said, yeah, but I don't want to be cancer girl. But I already knew that I was helping others. You know, doctors would call me in when they had students, when they had new patients, things like that. And so that was when we thought, you know, we need to do an initiative to help anyone who is on this journey. And so it started off as Trying Not to Die. And that came from my mother, actually.
Wow.
When I was in the hospital, she of course came out. I'm an only child. And when your only child is at death's door, you go, right?
Yeah.
And so she came out, and one of the times when one of my lovely, and I think all my medical folks are superheroes, just, and so when one of them came and went, I got the mother face, the disapproving face. And I said, what? And she said, you did not say thank you. And I said, oh, for God's sakes, Mom, I'm trying to not die. But when Kathleen and I were talking about this initiative, I realized that when we have something happening to us that is very serious, we get so caught up in trying to not die that we forget that we have to live. And so that's what we call this. It's called tryingnottodie.LIVE. And that is the website. And we help people, and like I said, I think this works for everything that we are doing in our lives. You mentioned at the very start, and it's the title of this program, that I am a warrior. I am a warrior. And somebody sent me something right as we started this journey that says, fate whispers to the warrior, you cannot withstand the storm. And the warrior responds, I am the storm.
Yes.
But the most important part about all this is warriors don't stand alone. We have our tribes around us. And that is what is so important is, and again, your business, your family, your volunteer life, whatever it is, you have to have people around you that you trust. Now, I have fired several doctors through this process. They were okay. They just didn't get me. And several others that I would walk on fire for. And so you get that team around you, your caregivers. I would not have survived if it hadn't been for my husband. He just, I can't imagine everything that he went through. But then it's about, and we mentioned this at the very start, it's, I am in charge. I have to advocate for myself and for what I want going forward. I had an interesting discussion with my doctor today about something, and one doctor said one thing, one doctor said something else. And then they said, what do you want? And I said, here's what I want. And that's a little scary. These people have 900 million years of education, but yeah, we are our own advocates, and we have to say, this is what we want. And then stand by your guns. And if you're not able to do that, I was unconscious off and on for 7 weeks. My husband knew what I wanted, and he was going to follow those. So make sure that you are doing that. I also tell people, I am not my diagnosis. You call me whatever, and I get really annoyed. One of the times when I went for a checkup after I had my thyroid surgery, I hear the young lady out in the hall say, the thyroid cancer is in room 4. And I went out and I said, excuse me. I said, I am not. I said, now I get HIPAA. I understand these things. And I said, but I am not the thyroid cancer patient. That is a very tiny part of my life. And they apologized profusely. And I'm pretty sure kept doing the same thing as after I left. But yeah, I'm not even a patient. I'm a person. And so we need to make sure that our medical care team and everyone remembers that we're people. We are not our diagnosis. Sometimes it gets in the way. Sometimes it's really big and looming, but we are people first. And then, it really is just, how are we going to live the rest of our lives? I tell people, if you've got a bucket list, why are you putting stuff off?
Yes.
I'm going on a cruise later on this year, taking my aunt and uncle. And then I've told my husband, prepare yourself. And he knows. He's like, oh. And I said, we're going to Antarctica.
Oh
Love
dear.
it.
Isn't that going to be so much fun? Oh my
Love
gosh.
it.
I'll come back on after we're back and tell you all about it.
Yes.
Yes.
But, you know, and I get that, you know, sometimes finances, things like that aren't going to allow people to do the things that they want to do. But there's museums, there's
Mhm.
movies, there's books, there's all sorts of ways that you can have those experiences and you know, be able to live that life and really don't put it off. You know, I don't want my headstone to say, I wish I would have.
I love that.
Wow, I do too. That's amazing.
Okay, so Deb, you talked about trying not to die.LIVE. And earlier you mentioned that it's an initiative.
Right.
Can you elaborate as to what will the listeners find on that website, what support they can have?
We've got resources on there, and I'm continually adding resources. One of the things I tell people is do not ever go to Dr. Google. You know, and of course, I did that
Dr.
yesterday
Google.
and scared myself half to death. But yeah, don't go to Dr. Google.
No, shame.
I know. And now here's the funny thing. I put so I had a test earlier this week that I was trying to figure out what it meant. And Dr. Google scared me. I put it into Chat GPT and said, tell me about this. And it told me in great detail. And it was actually very reassuring. Because now I'm not saying do this, folks, but it really was just very interesting. But yeah, so I tell people, you know, we've got these great resources. You know, if you're looking at traditional types of Western medicine, American Cancer Society and Mayo Clinic are usually who are the best initial sources. If you're looking at non-traditional or alternative types, obviously there are lots of resources out there for those. But you know, the internet's a really big, scary place. Any information you get, double, triple, quadruple check it, especially if your life depends on it. You know, and so we have links in there. We also have links for, you know, support groups. Sorry, Steve, I had a double mastectomy. I did not have any implants or anything. And so I have prosthetics. And so I have a link on the website to knittedknockers.org. And so
I love it.
Isn't that fun? And of course, mine are named. It's Lucy and Ethel, right?
Of course.
Lucy and Ethel, of course. But yeah, so lots of resources. We do have a Facebook group, and it is a private group, but that's a place to get support from everybody, from all the members of the group. You know, we put inspirational messages, new treatment findings, all sorts of things. I encourage people, you know, put anything you want in there as long as it is, you know, reasonable. You know, you know, I did have one person who was going to cure me with their protein drink. And I said, no, I don't think so. You know, but yeah, but again, that's just kind of one of those things, but it's really about showing you that you are in charge. You can get through this. You know, I tell people that life is how you will defeat cancer. Now, again, it still might just be 5 days. It might be 50 years. Who knows? But how you live in that time frame is what's going to defeat cancer.
Wow. That is so beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Thank you so much for such great value that you've shared with us and our listeners today. Deb, I'm sure our listeners are also curious as to what you are currently working on and how can they reach out to you.
Well, I have something new that I'm doing, and I decided to do this over Christmas. I am in training to become an intuitive cancer coach. So you know, much like you have a business coach or people like that, I will help people through their journey with cancer. As part of that, that was why I got the Happiness Life Coach certification, because I think that is, we talked about it, that's very important. But kind of on the other side is I'm going to be certified as a grief counselor. You know, going through this, it's not just, you know, I've lost the life that I was going to have. I've lost other things, you know, and we go through those cycles of grief, the anger, the bargaining, all of those
Yes,
various
yes,
things.
yes,
You know,
yes.
and then obviously there is actually the true loss of life. And
Mhm.
so I, you know, and I don't know, I'm thinking March-ish, April-ish, we will launch that. And so, you know, kind of, you know, if you're part of the Facebook group, we'll be talking about it there. But you can always find out everything. You can connect with me, all of those things on tryingnottodie.LIVE. If you want to connect with me on social, that's fabulous. I am actually only on LinkedIn and Facebook. All
Mhm.
those others just confuse me. And or more, it's you know, squirrel, right? Yeah. So anyone don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm going to be the only redheaded Deb Krier that you will find.
Ah,
Thank you,
I
Deb. I
love it.
love
I
you.
love it.
Um, to our listeners, also, if you have a product, service, or rebranding that you're launching in your company, we would love to help you promote it globally. Please contact our producer, Robert Culino, at robert.culino, CIOLINO, at voiceamerica.com for more information.
And Ernie, as a sneak peek for next Thursday, we're going to have our great friend, and I love this man, speaker, coach, helping executives communicate with clarity and confidence, Mr. David Bode. He'll be on next week. So tune in next Thursday to The Leader's Edge. And as always, Deb, wow, what a fabulous day. I just enjoyed the conversation. It was amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It has truly been my honor.
Yes, Deb, thank you so much. And we wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners and friends because without you, the Leader's Edge would not be possible. We are grateful to have you here and so excited to connect with you next time. But for now, bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.